G'day gamers, I'm Norak. Uh, Before I tell you what I am, I'll tell you what I'm not, which is a designer. I don't make champions. I don't balance numbers. I don't decide gameplay. Um, I am senior QA engineer for League of Legends game modes in Riot Sydney. I am a League of Legends player for the last 16 years since 2009. And obviously, what comes with that is I'm passionate about the game, which is why I've done this. I'm just passionate about making better to be a player, and Riot supports that. So I'm going to be talking about one of my passion projects today. This is going to be a video mainly for Rengar mains, but honestly, anyone who is curious about what happens under the hood will get a kick out of this. So I bet you're asking, why Rengar? It's not a secret that he's buggy. It might be not common knowledge why. He's got a lot of special cases and old script and workarounds, band-aids essentially, that have just piled up over the years. This means that it's hard for basically anyone to try and touch one area without breaking something else in Rengar. I would know this because my very first micro patch was actually me trying to fix Thunder Sky for Rengar. Thanks, Rengar. There's a little bit of trauma there. That's one of the reasons why I hate special cases and band-aids. One of. I want to see if I could systemically, I don't know the difference, solve Rengar's long-standing bugs. So I rescripted Rengar from the ground up with 3 goals in mind. 1, I wanted it to be easier to read and work with the scripts. 2, fix the bugs, obviously. And 3, make him more future-proof, make sure that his scripts work with systems in the future without having to make changes or band-aids or special fixes, that kind of stuff. This rescript touched almost all of his functionality, from his leap to his data to just spell behavior. Basically everything except for his R vision and his spell swapping tech, which I'll talk through later. But before I do that, I want to make it clear that this is a cry for help. I really want to avoid another Rengar micro patch if I can. So I'm calling all Rengar mains, bug enthusiasts, to jump on PBE and just give me a feedback, please. Please. First of all, how did I know Rengar was buggy? How did I know bugs existed? The answer is just this Rengar mains bug post, this mega post. Really helpful. Not only knowing what bugs existed, but there's actually great repo steps in videos showing like what happens. It's made it easy for me to see what was broken, but also seeing if my rescript was actually fixing these things. Again, I wasn't going through and trying to one by one fix most of these things. I just rescripted it in a new way that should hopefully fix a lot of these things by default. There was probably some things I had to fix manually, but yeah. I'll go a bit into now his leap, because that was probably one of the buggiest parts of his kit. His leap was, his passive, I guess, is multiple files. So if you ignore empowered state entirely, his passive is probably 3 files. You have the passive, you have the passive buff, and passive buff dash. Passive is what determines when you get passive buff. Basically, it's checking, am I in a bush? Passive buff is then giving you the extended range and triggering your dash when you attack someone. And the passive buff dash is the leap itself that then triggers the auto attack at the end. So if we ignore these 2 for now, and we just go down to passive buff dash, essentially there's events in all these scripts. That events are saying, at this point, do this logic. And so the point we're looking at in this in passive buff dash is move end. So at the end of the leap, we have logic that basically says auto attack. The way this was done before was 150 lines of special cases. So to give an example, the first 30 to 40 lines maybe was check. Is there a Callista on my team? Has Callista bound me? Is the target of my leap the target of Callista's auto attack? Do they have a Callista W buff on them? Have I triggered that yet? And if all that aligns, then proc Callista W. And this is because, again, it was pretending to be an auto attack. And so anything that required an auto attack, it would have to be special cased. That went on for 150 or so lines, checking for things like rolling for crits manually, checking for Sundered Sky, checking for Q, checking for Power Q, checking for ulti buff, all this kind of stuff. And that's the reason why it didn't work with a lot of other things. Like, for example, it didn't trigger Navori because it didn't have a special case for Navori, etc. Right? And basically a lot of arena stuff as well. So my change here was essentially to delete all the logic in that and turn it into a few new lines, which is basically buff on move end, trigger an auto attack, which is, it sounds easy to do that. It was not. There was multiple iterations and steps to get to this. And this auto attack that triggers is a new auto attack called leap attack. This has some new logic around figuring out whether or not you have Q active or whether you have R on the target, that kind of stuff. But it is much, much, much simpler. It's all handled by a function now, which should just be free. And that's passive buff dash, essentially. What else I've done is a lot. Passive buff itself now uses his attack range properly instead of using a essentially cast range. This hopefully also should fix issues like with the Nexus Leap as a byproduct. And passive itself has changes to logic around when you get your passive buff. So I'm a little bit worried about passive buff and passive buff dash because big refactor around these, and there's some pretty critical logic here. The next thing that might be kind of contentious is Rengar's Q. So as part of the rescript, some things changed. I have discussions around whether or not these were intentional to work like this or not, because again, this was rescripted in a way that should be more modern. The answers were that it should be that way. Now, those are two things. One is Q now is consumed on blast cones and plants in general. This matches behavior of other champions, and the kind of one of the lines of thinking for this is if you can use it as an auto attack reset, then you should get the benefit of you get the benefit of using, which is the reset. So you should also consume it. On the other end of this, someone who doesn't get this is Skada. No auto attack reset, so it doesn't actually consume. The other thing is crit. So there was a bug in Q where essentially it was factoring in IE's crit damage multiplier twice. The second time it was doing it was actually using an incorrect formula. So that has been removed. But what that means is there will be certain cases where Q with IE will deal less damage than auto attack with IE if you crit with the auto attack. Because Q is a guaranteed crit, this makes some sense. I don't have the numbers on me off the top of my head, but what this would look like was I think there was roughly a 30% increase to your critical chance bonus damage before, and a 40% flat increase from IE on top of that. Now it's just a flat 40% from IE on top of that. That is kind of a summary of the important parts of the rework. His QWE, empowered QWE, all reworked. His ulti reworked, vision not touched. So any bugs with the R vision are probably still going to be there. VFX, SFX, I have tried to do some fixes around these. There may still be some bugs there. Let me know what you think. Specifically, animations. No. I absolutely not. I've not touched animations. I don't know the tooling. I'm planning on learning it at some point and giving it a try. So maybe in the future, no promises. But the important thing is his functionality should be much better. In terms of reaching out to me, the best places are going to be the Reddit thread that you either got here from, or I'll link it in the YouTube video. Twitter, I'm Norak on Twitter. And obviously just YouTube comments. But the best places are going to be Twitter and Reddit. I will check my Reddit DMs as well, but it's going to, I check them way less frequently. I get a lot of those. So best place is the thread, especially because you can also see what other people have raised and if they've already raised what you talked about and if I've replied to them. Twitter works as well. I just write Norak. Yeah, so I appreciate anyone jumping on helping with this, and also hope you guys enjoy. Cheers.